Hello everyone, and welcome to the April edition of the Dominari video. Last time I did a video was in February, and the game has evolved quite a bit. And so the purpose of this video is to cover all of the new stuff that's been added. We'll dive into the mechanics in detail as well, which also means for the playtesters, if you're one of the folks that are helping to playtest the game, it'll also serve as a tutorial for you. We're not actually going to play the AI so much. We'll leave him at level 1, but we'll still go ahead and expand the galaxy and work through the mechanics. So just real quick, couple of the main changes. You're looking at the main screen here. So one of the big things that changed is initially the game would just come up and you kind of had some menus at the top of the thing to choose whether you're going to do single player or multiplayer, and then you just went straight into the game. So now there's the concept of the various game screens that if we go into versus AI, versus multiplayer, or replay, we'll go to various screens. Artwork was a big upgrade across the board, so not only title screens and buttons, but also the mechanic buttons, which you'll see here shortly. Another thing that we did, some mechanics just didn't make the cut. After playtesting the heck out of them, we found that either they weren't used or they were too overpowered, meaning that there wasn't a good balance. We couldn't turn the knob on it and make it balanced but fun. Even though this is a symmetrical game, what we didn't want is a dominant strategy to emerge where you basically had to play that, otherwise you lose. Or two, that the mechanic got so watered down that yes, it was balanced and not overpowered, but was no longer fun. And so a lot of mechanics have changed over the course of the last 2 months. We've added new animations. I say added new animations. There were no animations when you sent ships to planets, when your planet was taken over. So now there are visual indicators to let you know that ships have arrived, that somebody's attacking you, or that you just lost a planet. And that helps tremendously, and also helps a lot with immersion. Probably one of the largest changes we've had for the last probably month and a half now. We've had about 15 or 16 mechanics. We're now at 15 with a 16th mechanic, which is an upgrade. And an upgrade allows you to take any of the mechanics and update them to level 2 or level 3, which basically turns up the knob or intensity or duration or range of that particular mechanic. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to start with a kind of game basics, and then we'll cover the mechanics one by one, and then I'll probably do a separate video for I'll do probably a replay video replaying a game versus the other developer, and then also potentially do a kind of a real-time gameplay and kind of talk through it as I'm playing against the AI, who at level 10, especially even after playing all this time, he can be pretty tough to beat. So let's go ahead and dive in. So Dominari is a 4X mini RTS, and the mini part is really trying to aim for about 5 to 10 minutes of gameplay. One thing that I wished that StarCraft did is made the games a little bit more bite-sized, where you could sit down very quickly, get in and get out. But the reality is a lot of times, especially if you start to go into 2v2 and above, you're making a time commitment. Similarly, I play games like Counter-Strike. If you're going to dive into any of the team play, you're making a time commitment. What I really wanted was something where I can get in, get out. And I've always loved the concept of kind of this universe expansion. The idea from the game actually comes from way back in the days, and I'll date myself, but on the Amiga there was a game called Stellar Conflict, and it was turn-based, but it was the same concept. You start out with a home planet and some fighters, and you sent them out. Somewhere out there is the enemy trying to do the same thing, and over time you're trying to take over the universe. So in this game, not much different from any other Galaxy game, at least with the basic premise. Start out with a home planet. In this case, I have some fighters, and I can send the fighters to another planet to take over that planet. The number of fighters is going up because each planet has a production. In this case, you can see here that the Utopia is producing 48 fighters per minute and 6 resources per minute. There are 5 different planet types, and we'll look at those as we come across them. For now, I'm going to go ahead and just send some fighters here. So that's the primary or the core mechanic of the game, is to send fighters from one place to another. Now you can send half of your fighters with a right click. You can send all of your fighters with a left click. You can also multi-select planets, and as long as everybody's in range, you can see if I go out here it doesn't work. Here I get 3, here I get none. So it really depends on if they have the range, but you can send them as a group, which can be useful for rallying troops, especially when you have battle going on. Up here I have resources. I'm actually going to cap out at 200. And resources are used to purchase any of these abilities, which can help you further your cause to take over the entire universe. The numbers here in the center are turrets, and turrets are a stationary defensive unit, and they're worth about 10 fighters. I say worth about because there is an algorithm, and once you get up to 5, they're actually worth 70. So it does scale up a little bit. You're capped at level 1 turrets when the game first starts, but through upgrades you can get as many as 5 turrets on a planet. So I'm just going to continue to expand out here a little bit. So you're seeing a couple of different planet types show up. The green one's the vegetation. You see that he's even, 20 and 20. But if we go back to the Utopia, notice that 48 and 6 is 54. This guy's only producing 40 total resources. So he's actually the worst planet in the game, even though he is the balanced planet in the game. And so one of the things that you'll want to do is upgrade, in particular, your veggies to other planets early in the game. In order to do that, though, we're going to need some upgrades. So let's go ahead and start working on that. The first 3 mechanics that are available to you outside of the upgrade tech, which will allow you to level up to level 2 and level 3, are orbitals. And orbitals provide visibility, but they also unlock the capabilities that you see below them. So if I pick the ODS here, for example, I need to pick a planet.
ODS online.
And the ODS is the Orbital Defense Station. And what it does is it allows me to see everything here. So it revealed all of these planets that were outside of my fog of war. If an enemy crosses this line, I will see him immediately. Normally you can only see fighters if they're coming to your planet and attacking you. So for example, if an enemy went from this planet to this planet, we would be able to see him because he's in range of the ODS. After creating the ODS, you'll notice that it also has unlocked Fighter Factory, Hyper Chamber, and Recruit Fighters. So Fighter Factory will take any one of these planets and move it towards a planet type that increases fighter production. So if you were to real quickly think about the 5 planet types, we have a Utopia, which produces the most fighters. We have an Earth, which produces a little bit less fighters. We have a Vegetable, which produces right in the middle. We have a Desert, which produces, you can see there, 40 resources and 15 fighters, so it's producing more resources than fighters. And then what we don't see here is the Moon, and a Moon would produce the most, in fact I think it's around 100 resources and virtually no fighters. Oh, we just saw the enemy show up there. So what we're going to do with our veggie planet here is we're going to do a Fighter Factory. We'll click it.
Increasing production of fighters.
And notice now that he has turned into an Earth. He's now producing 30 fighters and 12 resources, so he's doing 42. Again, the veggie was doing 20 and 20, so now we're producing more overall resources than before. Now that the cooldown has expired, let's do it one more time.
Fighter Factory constructed.
And now we're producing 48 fighters and 6 resources. Dominari, however, requires that you're going to need a balance, and so if you were to produce all fighters, you would run out of resources and you wouldn't have access to your upgrades as fast as your opponent. Different maps call for different situations as well. This map happens to have lots of resource-intense planets, and so you might consider working your way towards a little bit more of a fighter-oriented one, and so you might even upgrade these the wrong way, if you will. The natural inclination for a desert is to upgrade it to a moon, because you're only one upgrade away from that. In order to get back to a utopia, you'd have to go through, you'd have to take it to a veggie, then to an earth, and then finally to a utopia, and that could get very expensive. We're going to talk about this next upgrade here, Hyper Chamber. Right now, when I hold down the left mouse button on a planet, that shows me my range that I can travel. If I try to go outside that, it breaks. Hyper will allow me to go much
Increasing
further.
travel distance.
It also lets me see planets beyond my scope, and now I can travel well outside of my range. So that's useful for getting somewhere that you normally can't access. In earlier days of some of our random maps, sometimes you couldn't even get from one side to the other without a hyperchamber, which is similar to some of the early StarCraft maps that required a shuttle. And it turns out there was an enemy there, so we just saw a battle, we saw an animation once I took over that planet. So the next one here, recruit fighters. While planets are producing fighters, you also have the option to recruit fighters, which will give you 10 fighters at level 1. So let's go here. We have 78, so now we'll have 88. Once you get to level 2 and you can see the next level info, it'll let you recruit 20 fighters. And then at the final level, recruit 3. So it's a way to get fighters instantly to one of your planets, which can be useful, especially if an enemy is attacking you. Because we're doing absolutely nothing, the computer may end up killing us, so I will try to move along a little bit. So let's bring up the next upgrade, GPA's Galactic Phase Array. This guy's kind of neat.
Online.
Again, you have visibility, anything inside of it. It's not that much range, but... And now we're in trouble. But what's going to happen is anytime one of his fighters crosses the line, just happened right there, he lost 5 fighters. When you get to level 2, it will kill 10 fighters. When you get to level 3, it will kill 15, I believe. The GPA does slightly expand its range as well. So if you stack a few of them around, you can watch, he'll cross right here, he'll lose another 5 fighters. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and start the game over real quick. Oops, we won't do level 10. Just so that we get some room. I'm also going to put it into cheat mode here. This is a handy tool for debugging. And what I'm going to do is drop a LOCF, which we haven't talked about. This guy upgrades production for everything that's inside the range. So the fighters and resources both will be increased in terms of how many they're spitting out per minute. Let me go ahead and
GPA
jump
online.
ahead here.
ODS online.
So each of these orbitals, we talked about the upgrades below them becoming available. These 3 over here, though, are special: Construct Starbase, Doomsday Device, and FTL Warp, and that they require all 3 orbitals to be present before they become available. And that's because these are very powerful weapons, and we wanted to push them more to mid-game and also make them very expensive to get to. We will come back to those. So GPA unlocks Inverse Polarity, Launch Sabotage, and Turret. So Inverse Polarity is pretty cool. It will slow down your fighters or enemy fighters. And that can be useful for a number of reasons. One, if the enemy fighters are coming in and you don't have time to get your ships to it, let's say he's coming to attack this 12, but at normal speed you're going to be late, you can delay his fighters coming in so that you can get there before he does. This is important because turrets are destroyed if the opponent takes over the planet. So if he took over the planet and then you got there, you just lost the turrets, and turrets are not only expensive, but they also do quite a bit of damage, and the longer you can keep turrets around, the better, or the easier it is for you to take away the enemy fighters. For example, if you have 20 fighters and I have 20 fighters and you come to my planet with a turret, battles are determined just by subtraction, so 20 minus 20 is 0, so we net 0. But 2 things. One is you have to have 1 more fighter in order to take over the planet, so you won't take over the planet. 2, I get to keep my turret. And so you will actually lose 10 fighters on that turret before we get into the battle, which means it's actually 20 minus 10. So I will have 10 fighters left, and at the end of it, if you think about the total fighters that each player has, you've actually reduced yours by 10. Now, expand that across multiple planets and you can see the value of turrets, because that's how you can wear your opponent down. One of many ways. Hopefully that wasn't overly complicated. So launch sabotage, we're not going to be able to easily see it right now, but what it does is it allows you to lock down the ships on a enemy planet so that they can't leave. And that can be combined with other attacks such as missiles, or let's suppose that the enemy is right here and has 100 fighters, and he's got a weak planet here, and so you go to attack that planet. You could sabotage his planet so that he can't defend it. So turrets, add turrets to your planets. However, we would need a planet with 0. There we go.
Boosting defenses.
So we just added a turret there. But you have a maximum of 1 turret at level 1. We would need to upgrade our tech, which we'll go ahead and do. We'll upgrade to level 2.
Upgraded.
Once you upgrade to level 2, you can then add more turrets. I'll go ahead and max this guy out at 3. So let's go down the LOCF, or the Low Orbit Construction Facility line. So Resource Extractor is the polar opposite of the Fighter Factory. If you remember, Fighter Factory would upgrade you, or upgrade a planet to the next level. That gives you more fighters, or fighter production. Resource Extractor will upgrade the planet to the next level. That will create a planet that produces more resources. So a best example of that would be this desert here. If we use a resource extractor on it, it will turn into a moon. So right now you see that it has 40 resources and 15 fighters per minute in the bottom right hand of the screen. We'll use the resource extractor on it.
Extractor complete.
And now it is 100 resources per minute and 12 fighters per minute. So using the Fighter Factory and Resource Extractor is important, especially if you have the vegetable planets, which are the worst planets in the game. You want to make sure that you're upgrading those one way or the other throughout the course of the game. Hello, enemy. Let's go ahead and get there first. So because he got there first, he battled the natives first, and then we battled him. So the way that the battles work, and there are never more than just the 2 of you. We've talked about having more than 2 players in the game, and we may evaluate that in the future, but for the time being, it's a one-on-one game. The yellow planets, or the yellow fighters, are natives. So those the natives never attack. They just sit there passively until you take over the planet. But in this case, what happened is he got there first, so he battled the natives. Once that battle is resolved, then it goes to the next battle, which is the 2 of us attacking each other. I'm going to go ahead and send in all this stuff, and looks like we have enough to take him out. Yeah, let's go
Resource
and upgrade
extractor
this.
Fighter Factory constructed.
You may have noticed that after I got done taking over this planet, some fighters escaped over here. So we have this concept of a rebate, and if you lose the battle on your planet while you're defending it, you get some percentage of your fighters back, and this helps to eliminate some runaway leader situations. So let's go down the line. Ludicrous speed. So normally travel goes about that fast. If you use ludicrous speed, it goes a lot faster. As you upgrade them, hang on a sec here.
Mechanic upgraded. Doomsday device online.
Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start back up. There we go.
LOCF online. Speed accelerated. GPA online. Polarity inverted. ODS online.
Alright. So Ludicrous. Yes, Ludicrous goes a lot faster, which can be useful for rallying troops in a big hurry, getting fighters to defend in a big hurry, or if you want to launch a massive attack against the enemy, getting them there quickly helps. Of course, each level gives you even faster speed, so you can see how much faster that is than before once we upgrade to level 2. And level 3 is actually pretty ridiculous. In fact, we're thinking about toning it down, but we'll see. So we've covered everything except for the 3 big guys. So Construct Starbase is kind of unique in that you can actually put something new into the game. So I'm going to drop a starbase. It has to be within range of one of your orbitals.
Starbase activated.
And it will take about 10 seconds for it to construct. So nothing can go to it or attack it until it is completed. Once it's completed, you'll get 50 fighters on it. And now you have kind of a launch point. You can rally troops to it just like anything else. You'll notice that it does not have a turret box. You cannot put turrets on this, nor can you drop orbitals on it. So literally all it can hold is fighters, and it's not very defensible. But what it is useful for is, let's suppose I want to attack out here. You can see there's nothing in range. Even if I add an ODS,
online.
There's nothing out here for me to send fighters to. But what I can do is stick an ODS here, or I'm sorry, the starbase here at the edge of my orbital, and you can see now I'm going to have access to all of these planets. So I'm going to use Ludicrous. Actually, I'm going to use Hyper, grab all of this stuff and say, go here. And so now I'm able to rally all my stuff and cross over into areas where I couldn't before. Where this is particularly useful is if you have a bottleneck situation, kind of like this, and maybe you're not able to quite get through, you can create your own path with the Construct Starbase. Now, starbases, unlike planets, when an enemy takes it over, it is actually destroyed, and then the fighters that successfully attacked it will go back to their nearest friendly planet. So the next one, Doomsday, you saw me do that before I restarted the game. Doomsday puts up a little skull,
Doomsday device
and anything that travels into it is going to lose a lot of fighters. At level 1, it'll lose 50 fighters per travel group, and I mean per travel group. So if we did something like, let's pretend there's a Doomsday on this one right here. If I did this, all of those fighters would be killed, except for the 65. You would end up having the 50 fighters remaining, but everybody else would die because they were less than 50. At level 2, it goes up to, I think, 150, and at level 3, it's 300 fighters it will kill, which makes it excruciatingly painful in the game. We're still debating on whether those are the right numbers for it, and we'll continue to tweak that as well as all of these mechanics. But for now, it is very expensive. That's interesting. I just noticed that it says 50 here.
Mechanic upgraded.
That's right. The price goes up. It starts out at 50, and then the price goes up as the number of the fighters it kills. Last one, FTL Warp. This guy's still being a little bit tweaked, but what he does is that's faster than light warp. One of the
ODS online.
important things is that it can only be placed on a planet that has an orbital, and what will happen is it will destroy the orbital while performing the warp. And I'm going to go ahead and upgrade it to level 2.
Upgraded.
And what FTL Warp does at this level is summons, it says 40, but it should actually be 30%, I believe. It will take 30% of all the fighters you have in your universe and place them on this planet. So it's a quick way to get fighters, especially up to the front lines, or if you're able to do something interesting like sneak into the back of your opponent's base, you can warp all your fighters in there and then do a surprise attack. So let's go ahead and do this guy here.
Fighters
and you can see very quickly I went from 40 fighters to 200 fighters, and now I can launch my diabolical attack here on this helpless enemy planet. Computer is pretty smart though. He should be putting fighters there right now. We just can't see it. And, well, maybe he's not as smart as we thought. Oh, he is level 1. That's right. What else? That's it. So we've covered all of the mechanics. So we have the orbitals, we have the ability to upgrade our planets, and then a variety of things that help us accomplish our goals. So I showed you all of the individual mechanics, but here's what's really cool. You can combine them. So let's take one of the ones that we discovered very early, which is right now I can travel here. That's great. I can do a multi-select and travel here. It's pretty slow. Let me upgrade
Mechanic upgraded.
But if you do something like combine Hyper and Ludicrous, you can take a bunch of ships, go really, really far, really, really fast. So we're going to do exactly that.
Travel speed.
and you can see how I can do a very, very quick rally of all of my troops. So that is an example of combining them. We are going to, let's go ahead and
Travel
ludicrous.
speed accelerated. Travel distance
We'll
increased.
do that. I realize we did not talk about missile, so let's talk about missile. Missile can be fired from any of your planets to any enemy planet. When you attack a planet with a missile, what will happen is it will destroy 50% of the fighters on that planet, as well as take out 100% of the turrets on that planet. So let's put up an ODS here so we can see.
ODS online.
So this guy has 40 ships on this planet. With one turret, we're going to launch a missile.
Launching missile.
And off it goes, and we should see 21 and 0. Now missiles, one defense you have against that is the GPA. The other defense is to get your fighters off of the planet very quickly. But the GPA will not allow missiles to penetrate until a missile is upgraded to level 3, at which point the GPA no longer defends against it, and really you just have to get your fighters off the planet at that point. We're still playing around with the mechanics there as well, trying to decide, well, then what's the counter to that? That will continue to evolve as we get further into play testing. Sabotage, now that we have the enemy around, we can show that.
Enemy travel impaired.
So a little X.
Enemy travel impaired.
And so his fighters would not be able to move off that planet, and then you would follow up by attacking him if you wanted to do that way. Another neat combination is to sabotage
Fighters disabled.
and then send missile.
Launching missile.
Because now his fighters can't come off of the planet. You'll take out his turrets, knock out half of his fighters, and then you might follow it up with an attack. So, part of the fun of the game is, of course, doing all of the exploration of the game, attacking your enemy, but also combining the mechanics in interesting ways. Because there are 15 mechanics, and there are 3 different levels, that means there are 3 to the 15th, or an incredible number of permutations of how you can put these together. And one of the things we continue to evolve is ensuring that you have multiple paths to victory. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this video, and thanks for hanging in there. I'm going to do a couple more videos here soon, doing some gameplay against the AI and kind of talking through so you can see what gameplay looks like real time. And then we'll also have a video evaluating a replay of a game of human versus human so you can see what it looks like when 2 people are really playing against each other, which is a very different game, by the way, than playing the AI. So thanks for watching the video. Please share your comments and feedback in the thread, and look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thanks.